Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the meeting of the Cabinet of Staffordshire County Council today, Wednesday, the 17th of April. The first item on the agenda are apologies. Mr. Bradbury, do we have any apologies?
Good morning, Leader. No, I'm not in receipt of any apologies from members for this morning's meeting.
Agenda item 2 are declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order 16. Are there any declarations of interest? No. For the record, nobody is indicating. Agenda item number 3 are the decision notices of the meeting held on the 20th of March 2024. Is it your wish that I sign those as a correct record of the meeting? Agreed. Agenda item 4 is the leader's update, a fairly lengthy one this morning. First, I would like to start the meeting with some excellent news for parents and children today, as I am pleased to tell you once again that the majority of parents in Staffordshire have been allocated their first choice primary school. More than 95% of parents found out yesterday that they have been given a place at their first choice, with more than 99% being offered to one of the top 3. Our admissions team have been working really hard to ensure Staffordshire parents know where their children will be going to school in September, and today's news follows on from a similar success story for secondary school places. The County Council recently announced that a total of £56 million will be spent on building new schools and maintaining and improving existing ones in Staffordshire over the coming year. This includes building new primary schools in Stafford, Tamworth, East Staffordshire and Lichfield. It is important to plan for the future and ensure that we are building schools that mitigate the rise in demand for school places. Our forward planning has ensured that the overwhelming majority of parents are consistently allocated one of their top choice primary or secondary schools. And thank you to Councillor Price, Tim Moss and your team for all the hard work that you've done to achieve this. Thank you. Moving on, we know how important good highways are and a great connected network is for this council. Our residents and our businesses and of course to attract fresh investment to this county and to grow the economy. And this is why I've appointed a new team to lead on highways delivery of our £53 million on projects, improvements and maintenance in 24-25, and our extra £50 million of investment over the next 3 years to get maximum benefit for Staffordshire. Our Cabinet colleague, Councillor Mark Deville, has taken on the strategic role of overseeing our approach to delivering high-quality projects and will be supported by Keith Flunder and Rob Pritchard, who will lead on highways operations north and south, respectively. So welcome to them in their new roles, and I would also like to thank the previous Cabinet Member for Highways, David Williams, for his very hard work. We have listened and we want to do even more to improve highways with the budget available, and I am confident our new team will bring an even greater energy to this important issue. And I've got to say this morning, having had briefings earlier, I was delighted to hear how much work has been going on with Councillor Deville, Councillor Flunder and Councillor Pritchard over the past week. It bodes well for the future. Staying with transport, HS2 remains in the news. This County Council was opposed to HS2 from the outset, but committed to minimising the impact on our county and communities and to maximising any economic benefits. With work on the initial phase going ahead, we continue to focus on the impact for our county, but we also want to ensure that the Handsacre link, which is part of these plans, is built and operated to allow HS2 compatible trains to run from Stafford to London. We know too that the scrapping of the leg from Crewe to the north, that there have been calls for an HS2 Mark II, as it were, to be built. Although these plans are vague, we've made it clear that our position on any HS2 replacement which cuts through Staffordshire remains unchanged, and the voice of this council and our communities must be heard. In other transport news, there was some good news this month when it was confirmed that the development and growth of an electric charging network in Staffordshire will be boosted by £4.6 million of national funding. By collaborating with 4 other local authorities and regional transport body Midlands Connects, the county will be able to work across borders and crucially have greater strength in attracting the businesses which will install and operate the charging network. It is not the County Council's role or responsibility to install or operate the charging points, but by working with partner local authorities, we will be in the strongest position to attract commercial partners which will undertake this. Locations for charging points will include public and private car parks, on-street charging, rapid speed charging hubs, fuelling forecourts and residential properties. At the start of the year, there were around 430 charge points in Staffordshire, and it's estimated the county will need over 5,000 electric vehicle charging point sockets by 2030. Moving on to Staffordshire's countryside. All of us who live and work in this beautiful county know how lucky we are to have such a fantastic landscape on our doorstep. As a county council, we are proud to be custodians of acres of this countryside, and Cannock Chase is undoubtedly a jewel in the Staffordshire crown. We want families to very much enjoy places such as the Chase, but we have a role as well to play helping preserve the landscape for generations to come and to ensure wildlife and habitats can continue to flourish. The recent introduction of cattle there is one such example of how we are doing this, and is part of a project to restore heathland habitats in an environmentally friendly way. Around 15 native cattle are now grazing 25 hectares at Moors Gorse until the end of the summer as part of the 4th year of Staffordshire County Council's Conservation Grazing Scheme, which plays an important role restoring heathland habitats that rare species rely on. A perimeter fence around the cattle, which has been designed to allow other animals such as deer to pass through but keep cattle within it, is also in place. Finally, it's hard to believe we're already more than halfway through April, but here in Staffordshire, that means Staffordshire Day is just around the corner. Staffordshire Day is a day we celebrate everything we love about Staffordshire, and every year on May the 1st, Staffordshire becomes alive with events of all shapes and sizes across the county. Whether you love captivating countryside, our thrilling theme parks, or an eye-opening history and heritage, there will be something for you on Staffordshire Day. So if you are proud to be from Staffordshire and do find out more about Staffordshire Day, and enjoy Staffordshire website. Now on to today's agenda, ladies and gentlemen. The first item is Staffordshire Means Back to Business, brought to you by the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White.
Thank you very much, Leader. Today's update is very much focused around jobs and employment, and some of the work that the County Council is doing to support employment in Staffordshire. So firstly, as I always do, I'd like to start with the universal credit claimant statistics. So the last month saw an increase of 430 universal credit claimants in Staffordshire. That's an increase to 3% of our working age population. As always, this is, however, considerably lower than the regional average of 5.1% and the average for England of 4%. We have a very good track record in terms of creating jobs in Staffordshire, but nonetheless, we are mindful of those increases, which are largely driven by the level of interest rates at the moment. It's very pleasing to see today in the news that inflation has reduced again to 3.2%. We're very hopeful that as a result, the Bank of England will feel able to reduce interest rates as we head into the second half of the year. In terms of the things that we can control here directly in Staffordshire, which does not include interest rates or inflation, we have a huge amount of work that's been ongoing for many years and continues in terms of supporting employment within the county, and that excellent track record we have in terms of jobs creation. And I'd just like to highlight a few of those things and provide a few updates for Cabinet in respect of some of those. So one of the key areas for employment in Staffordshire is logistics. And since 2015, we've created around 7,000 new logistics jobs within Staffordshire. But crucially, those jobs are focused on what I would call advanced logistics and developments in logistics to make it more efficient, productive and environmentally friendly. Over the coming years, the West Midlands Interchange scheme in South Staffordshire will bring around 8,500 new jobs into the county, and we're very, very pleased that working with Winvic, the lead constructor on phase 1 of that site, our Jobs and Careers Service, now have a dedicated employment service for pathways into the construction industry, into constructing that interchange. A really good example of the County Council working with private employers in the county and developers to maximise employment, not simply when a site is open, but actually during its construction. It's also important to note with the West Midlands Interchange that will have a significant impact on reducing the amount of HGV traffic around the country, we anticipate that it will reduce the number of journeys on the road network by about 50 million kilometres per year as a result of that here in Staffordshire. Moving on to I-54, a site that the County Council has developed in partnership with South Staffordshire District Council and Wolverhampton City Council. I'm very pleased to say that the penultimate plot on our extension to that site has now been occupied by GridServe, relating to one of the items in your update, Leader, around supporting electric vehicle charging. GridServe is one of the UK's leading electric vehicle charging station providers. So I-54 is close to the M54 and the M6, and this is a large high-speed charging site where people can pull in the way that they might do at a traditional service station, have a brew and something to eat whilst their car is rapidly charged. I-54 is another great example of the County Council's support for employment. There the focus is on manufacturing, and it's created around 3,000 jobs in that sector in our county. We have a final extension to that site that we will be bringing forward in due course to support further jobs there. The other sites that I will mention briefly that are again major employment sites and supporting major employment are Chatterley Valley up in Newcastle under Lyme, where I'm pleased to say construction is back on track after some delays relating to creating an entrance onto the road network from that site, and the Branston interchange in Burton-on-Trent, which supports the Branston Locks development, a mixed-use housing and employment site, which is in danger of running slightly ahead of schedule, colleagues. Whisper it quietly, but major schemes all around the county dedicated to supporting employment. A couple of other brief updates from me. So the first is last month I updated colleagues on investment in skills within the county and the improvement in skills levels, with far more people in Staffordshire now having qualifications at GCSE level and at higher qualification levels up to degree level. The highest skill levels in our county that we've ever seen. As a key part of that, we're continuing to support the delivery of investment into our skills providers, and I was really pleased to see that Burton and South Derbyshire College have recently opened their upgraded and revitalised facilities in Burton-on-Trent Town Centre. That includes a cybersecurity lab, a games development studio, an area that Staffordshire is a real leader on across the county, and also a health simulation suite training healthcare workers in real world situations, but using animatronics, terrifying life-size dolls that sit up and scream, and you have to go and help them out. But the best way to train healthcare workers when they're very new into their training without exposing them to patients. So a great new asset delivered through town deal funding in Burton-on-Trent. And the final thing that I will just mention is relating to our community learning service, which supports 2,500 adult learners across the county, and recently received a very strong, good inspection result from Ofsted. We've recently also received international recognition through the Matrix standard, which is a global standard for the quality of the careers advice that attaches to adult learning. We're now internationally recognised for that here in Staffordshire. The final thing that I do have to mention is Staffordshire Day, which the leader has already gone to town on, but it's worth saying twice. It's our wonderful opportunity to celebrate everything that we do in this county, and to encourage people from outside Staffordshire to come in, visit our attractions, spend their money in our shops, our restaurants, and in other places. And I would encourage everybody to shout very loudly about it. There will be something going on within a very small distance of wherever you are in our great county. Go out and enjoy the 1st of May and celebrate Staffordshire. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is agenda item 6, Integrated Performance Report Quarter 4. It's a joint report brought to you by myself and Councillor Parry. But Councillor Parry, if you'd like to take the lead and introduce the report, and I'll bring portfolio holders in once you've completed.
Thank you. And for the record, I'm Cabinet Member for Finance, and we'll be just kicking off on the finance side and then handing over to colleagues to cover the rest of the integrated performance report. This is probably the last of this format we'll see of this actual performance reporting method, and in the new financial year from Q1 we'll be seeing a different format. In terms of financial reporting then, this is Q4. It's not the final outturn, but it's hopefully close to the final outturn. And happy to report that we have this sounds like a strange thing to say, doesn't it? Happy to report a £4 million overspend, but actually a £4 million overspend is well within our target range. We started off, I think, at something like a 7 million overspend in Q1, and we brought that down to 4 million in Q4, and that's about half of 1% of our total budget. So well within range, which is about plus or minus 2%. I think we can be satisfied with the outturn. I don't want to mask, though, that what's underneath all of that is the spending across the council. Whilst we can congratulate, and I do congratulate those directors of service areas in achieving underspends in many respects, in many areas, for most areas, we also recognise that our biggest challenge is in children's, and that has generated an 11 million overspend at Q4. We knew that, in a sense. We knew that that was going to happen, and we made provision for it in the budget, and we've made provision moving forward, because to reduce the spend from that level is going to take time, and it's going to take some transformational strategies to be fully implemented. We're confident that the strategy is right. We've seen the effects already of children in the system coming down. What we're trying to do, obviously, is to manage the cost of those cares whilst ensuring we keep children safe, and that's the paramount priority for this council. So, 11 million provided for through our reserves. We're expected to do that. We're not spending reserves on revenue budgets willy-nilly. We are doing it in a targeted and planned way. So overall, Chair, Leader, I think that's a satisfactory result for the council, and it's part of our 4-year balanced medium-term financial strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Parry, and a sober assessment of our financial position and also recognition of the risks that we're exposed to. With that, I'm going to now turn to Councillor Jonathan Price for your components of the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. And firstly, I'll start off with the good news that you talked about in your Leader's update earlier. So it was really pleasing to receive the latest figures for the first preference and one of the top 3 preferences for secondary school places across the county. And as you know, that was 91% for first preferences and 98.5% for one of the top 3. Our offer of secondary school places to young people and their family continues to compare favourably to the national figures. The National Primary Offer Day was yesterday, and so although it will be in the Q1 report later this summer, I'm pleased to share that 95% of parents and carers received an offer for their first preference, and over 99% received one of their top 3 preferences. Our school admissions team and school organisation team continue to work with schools and housing developers to make sure that we have enough school places across the county to meet the changes in population growth. And I would just like to also take the opportunity to thank those teams and Tim Moss as well. As has been reported throughout the year, our pressures with SEND, special educational needs and disability demand, and timeliness continue. At Q3, I shared that a recovery plan to address the timeliness challenges has been implemented, and as a result, the number of overdue open assessments is reducing. The enhanced Assess Plan Do review model went live from the beginning of January, and this should also support with the challenges around the support for children and young people earlier. It is too early to provide information as to the impact this is having on the requests for educational, health and care needs assessments. This information is being collated, and once available, I will be able to share the impact. I recall sharing previously that our submission to the Department for Education for a 0.5% switch from the schools block to the high needs block has been successful, and the Department for Education reported that our plans set out in our dedicated school grant deficits management plan are addressing the pressures we face. Nevertheless, these activities are medium to long term and are having little impact on the immediate financial pressures in the high need, as it is being continually reported nationally. The focus on special educational needs and disabilities transport continues. Action to increase the take-up of personal travel budgets, increasing the average occupancy of vehicles and reducing the number of children travelling in single occupancy vehicles are continuing. Whilst this is all very challenging and no different to what is taking place across the country, almost on a daily basis we're hearing of the difficulties, whether that will be with SEND transport or SEND provision. We are committed to delivering the actions set out in our SEND Accelerated Progress Plan and SEND Transport. Just a few weeks ago, the County Council Network published a paper on SEND home to school transport, and having reviewed the actions recommended, I'm reassured that all recommendations apart from an in-house fleet are being implemented in Staffordshire. Through our support of the County Council Network, the Local Government Association and the Campaign of Fairness in Education Funding, the F40, discussions with our MPs, a fundamental system change is required to support the challenges that we face along with the majority of other local authorities across the country. I'm going to end on a good note, as I started on a good note. So I just wanted to talk about the Staffordshire Virtual School, which has been shortlisted for the Large Team of the Year category at this year's Local Government Chronicle. The virtual school supports children and young people who are looked after by Staffordshire County Council, children who have left the authority and children who have a social work involvement. The virtual school works with schools and care partners, parents and carers to help improve education outcomes for our children. So fingers crossed for them, but a fantastic job, and really pleased to see that they had been shortlisted. Thank you, Leader.
Best of luck indeed. Councillor Sutton.
Perhaps I can, thank you, Leader. Perhaps I can just start by just echoing what Councillor Price says about the virtual school and the great work that they do with children in care, ensuring that they get a good education. And at the corporate parenting panel, we often receive updates regarding that work that's done. The Ofsted report into Council's Children's Services required us to prepare and develop a plan, which we are almost finalised now. We've done that together with partners and also internally, and that will be submitted to Ofsted very, very shortly. And I think we are working well internally and with partners to ensure that is a proper plan that's fit to achieve those outcomes, so that we get in a position where children's services in this authority are good. Councillor Parrier alluded to the fact that most of the overspend resulting in what we do around children's services, but in particular that relates mainly to placement costs. And people will recall that we have recently put through a cabinet report to have to progress on 6 of our own internal children's homes that is aimed to also addressing that, ensuring that children in our care have absolutely the right placements, but that are at affordable costs. And that is ongoing work, and in the future we'll be in a position to report further on that. The number of children overall over the past 12 months during the whole period of the previous year has reduced, and that's been done by hard work, ensuring that that children are given the right opportunities when they do get referred to us to try and keep them with their families and work with families, but also where it is right and proper to do so and necessary to keep children safe, we take those into care, but also once they are in care, that we have a proper plan to continue to work with the family and that child in order to try and reunite where safe to do so with their family. During the past year, the Building Resilient Families Programme, or the Supporting Families Programme as it's is now called, have worked successfully with 1,400 families to have a successful and sustained outcome. That's above the target that was set by government, but slightly below where we actually did want to achieve. Two other things I do want to talk about. One is the holiday activity and food programme. During the Easter holidays, I was able to visit 3 providers in the county, which are providing children with excellent activities where they socialise with friends, improve their social skills and well-being, and all that linked with the provision of a nutritious meal. And I'd just like to end on the fact that the early years team are working hard on the extension of the funded childcare for working parents. As of this month, 2-year-olds are now entitled, with working parents, to 15 hours funded childcare, and then from September of this year that's reduced down to all children above 9 months will be entitled to those 15 hours. So the teams are working hard in ensuring that there is sufficiency within the county. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Leader, and good morning, everybody. In health and care, we are pleased to report that in both delivery performance and finance performance, we remain green on the ratings. The new Care Act assessment pathway introduced in November to streamline processes by reducing number of forms to be completed is showing really good signs of having tangible results, particularly from practitioners. Further work is ongoing to understand the issues around the quality and the experience of those being assessed. So as a result of this change, the performance from November only includes those who need a more detailed assessment. Overall, members, demand for assessment remains largely consistent, although you can see from the dashboard that numbers of assessments not completed within the 28 days fell in Q4 below target. This represents the more complex cases which make it to the assessment stage and often take longer to complete. This has, however, been compounded by the higher than normal demand in January, but we hope and expect this to recover through March. The new pathway from November has resulted in more contacts being made prior to assessments taking place, if at all. The actual number of days waiting for an assessment has fallen from 54 days in March 2023 to 30 days now in January 24. Chair, we will continue to monitor the performance over the coming quarters and to see what the impact of the new pathway is having on numbers of assessments being completed. Under safeguarding, in relation to safeguarding contacts, these broadly have remained static from last year, with 1,263 in Feb 24 compared to 1,269 the previous year. Chair, there is no indication of any increase in abuse or neglect, which we are pleased to report. Given the importance of this work, the Council has allocated additional temporary resource into the service, and we are looking to see if any further improvements to the pathway process is required. For those people receiving reviews of the services that they receive for 12 months or more remains high at 89% reviewed in the previous 12 months to February 2024, which exceeds our target of 80%. However, This is slightly less than the peak that was reached in October 23 of 92.2%, which also can be seen on the dashboard. Turning to dolls, the deprivation of liberty safeguards, like many other councils, demand for dolls remains high. We currently have 3,882 with dolls authorised, an increase of 20% since March 23. Due to this increase in demand, in January, people waiting over 21 days has increased to 631. However, requests are prioritised, and we do prioritise the service, which continues to reduce both waiting and the average times month on month. People have been waiting 30 days, which is down from 54 days in March 2023. This council does compare favourably with other local authorities on these metrics, based on the latest data from 2023. And feedback from family members has been positive, and the whole dolls process has been explained well. Care providers are also positive about the professional way the council assessors operate in this area. The Care Quality Commission, CQC, in its assessment of how councils perform against duties under the Care Act, have now completed 5 pilot councils. The CQC published its guidance for local authority assessments back in December 23, following these pilots, and announced the first council that would be inspected. We continue to engage with our workforce, outlining the CQC assessment that is on its way, as well as reviewing our self-assessment and looking at the evidence that will be required when the inspection lands here sometime between now and 2025. I'd like to thank publicly both Councillor Paul Northcott, the Cabinet Support Member for Public Health, Integrated Care and Safeguarding, and Dr Richard Harding, our Director for Health and Care, for the continued work that they do in this area in making sure that the health and care in Staffordshire is where we want it to be. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. There's some excellent news in that report, and I'm absolutely delighted to hear the progress that you're making across the portfolio. It is the time elapsed since I was holding the portfolio to today would be a stretch to take any credit for any of the work. but I'm delighted to see that you're continuing the great work that Councillor Jessel set up and taking it forward. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. As part of our climate change environment portfolio, I can report that the Climate Change Action Plan is on track. Our senior officers have met to work together to further our ambitions as we move towards refreshing our Climate Change Action Plan later in the year. Also, the County Council is working with partners through our Sustainability Board, Staffordshire Sustainability Board, on our joint ambitions for our climate targets across the county. So I think a really good picture there of all officers within this council being climate change officers and working with our neighbouring authorities, districts, and also the City Council now on achieving that obviously net zero target by 2050. Really pleased that during this period we've rolled out the support for the economy and businesses through Green Growth Solutions Scheme. That includes carbon literacy training for businesses, and I can say that 106 individuals have been trained so far, including some in the city of Stoke-on-Trent. So we're really sort of moving forward on that support for business as they begin to, a daunting task for many to decarbonise their operations. Also in March this year, the council started the new Net Zero Skills for Growth project with Keele University, a joint bid that was put into the Innovation UK Pathfinder programme. And it will run for 17 months, and the approach will be to understand how we can map out achieving net zero in the supply chain, which is of course an important part of decarbonising the wider county for our net zero target of 2050. We also saw the closure of our Climate Change Action Fund, which is a fund that is for county councillors to in their community offer money to groups to enable them to community groups, church halls, community centres, to be able them to decarbonise their operation. A total of £66,000 has been awarded on various schemes across the county. I think this year has been the best scheme we've had this year, and we will be rolling it out again from June for members to have that £1,500 to spend in their community. So I think a good picture across the board on climate change. We move forward, we reached the milestone of 50%, didn't we? And we'll obviously have ambitious plans going forward as we refresh our climate change action plan in the autumn. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Leader, and good morning to everybody. So I'd like to start with the project, the Staffordshire History Centre, which, as you know, is a fantastic project happening here in Stafford, costing us £8.7 million. So we've managed to receive all those monies from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and from various other donors. It's excellent news. There is a slight delay on this. That's because of the exceptionally inclement weather that's hampered progress late last year and early this year. However, we do expect to mitigate that construction delay, and there will be a staged handover, we're hoping, by the end of the year. So that's looking like very, very positive news for us. We've also had a few issues with regards to the seized calves under trading standards, which I'll just sort of recap, if that's okay with that Cabinet, to say that in March last year, 238 calves were seized from a private farm following some visits highlighting some animal welfare issues. We have taken under our wing 223 bovine animals. We applied for a court order to take ownership of the animals that were taken into possession, and the first hearing was heard in May last year. However, unfortunately, the farm owners will not agree for us to sell the cattle without unreasonable demands for compensation. So there's a criminal case progressing and a civil case as well. Unfortunately, the farm owners continue to offend, and a second prosecution case has been prepared. This is all costing the council a lot of money and a lot of time. And unfortunately, a trial won't be happening now, probably until 2025. So there are concerns in that area, but we're doing our best on that. Good news, however, if I can say that our library service, Burton Library, is going to benefit from a £1.3 million regeneration scheme, with £265,000 of that from the Libraries Improvement Fund. Also, Leek Library within the Nicholson Institute is receiving £117,000 for a refurb. And following that, we have Wombourne Library, which has also been successful with a £199,000 Arts Council fund. So that's excellent news. We're continuing with our communities delivery plan. So we've got a draft strategy that will be seen at the end of this month. We also have a cultural strategy with themes to be shared in May, and the final draft will come to Cabinet in September. We also have our community fund, which is to be launched next month, so that's great news for the 62 councillors and their residents in this county, where they can undertake projects which help the local community. So that's excellent news. And overall, Leader, our forecast within culture, rural and communities is that we are expected to break even. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. By bovine animals, I assume you mean cows? Yes, okay. Thank you. Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I echo your comments, Chairman, and thanks to David Williams for the hard work that he's put into this area of work for a number of years. Colleagues, the level of demand on highways and the highway service has been very high, especially during the recent awful stormy weather that we've all experienced. Our highways crews have done a tremendous job in clearing debris from roads, in attending flooding issues, and they operate in all weathers and do a tremendous job right across the county. And I'd like to offer my sincere thanks on behalf of the Cabinet for all the work that they do during the winter months and indeed all year round in keeping the people of Staffordshire safe on our roads. They do a really tremendous job, Chairman, and thanks go to all of them on the front line who carry out really difficult work in very often difficult circumstances. The awful weather also has created a considerable backlog in highway repairs, in potholes, and of course the condition of our roads, as you said earlier, Leader, is essential to all residents and all of our businesses. And I absolutely get that, and I absolutely understand the need to repair our roads. Colleagues, I look forward to the good weather. The sunshine today makes us all feel better. I look forward to the English summer. I look forward to the English cricket season. And colleagues, I really look forward to the opportunity for our crews to get out and massively reduce the backlog of defects on our highways. That, of course, will result in safer journeys, better journeys, and much more appreciation of our Staffordshire roads for our residents and our businesses. We have a recovery plan that everyone's bought into, our officers and members of the Cabinet. That will result in massive improvements on our roads. We just really look forward to the better weather so that our crews can get out and make a real difference in the repairs of potholes, other defects, and particularly around drainage and potential flooding issues. That's really important. And look forward to a really well-planned and well-structured recovery plan with the repair of defects on our highways. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I hope people can appreciate that the Cabinet colleagues are confronting the challenges we face head on, and they're also seeking to bring forward opportunities to make the place we live in better for our residents. It's important to note that unlike many large local authorities, we have a balanced budget. We're able to tackle these issues because we've managed our finances well over the past 15 years. If we hadn't managed our finances well, this Cabinet meeting would have a very different flavour to it. I wonder how Cabinet meetings go in places that have very serious financial challenges, no opportunity to invest in services like highways, no opportunity to invest in children's services, no opportunities to make sure deprivation of liberty safeguard backlogs are attended to, no opportunity to invest in our environment and our climate change agenda. But we can do that because we've managed our money well. And I think when I speak to people on the streets, they recognise that. They know that we have to ask them for a bit more through their council tax, but that is in order to deliver great services across the county of Staffordshire. To all of you around the table, thank you for your efforts. I know you work really hard as a Cabinet to make sure that our services continue to deliver, and I know you think deeply about the challenges that we face. So with that, I suppose, concluding remarks, Councillor Parry, was there anything you wish to add to the end of that?
Really, just to reiterate what you've just been saying, Leader, which is that this report demonstrates that your Cabinet, Leader, works in an integrated way, that within the organisation we have clear managerial controls over delivery and expenditure to ensure that we maintain that balanced budget, and that we have strong political grip over these issues, because listening to Cabinet colleagues this morning about the level of detail and strategic understanding of the issues and how we're approaching those things does demonstrate two things: that political grip, but also the integration of Cabinet colleagues, that actually everybody shares the same problems. We share the same problem. And just responding to what you were saying, Leader, about the financial stability of the council, and the tough decisions lead to a place where you then have the latitude and scope to make decisions and not have things forced upon you. You, in fact, are able to make decisions of investment, which we've made and which we are using to improve services, and we are raring to go. We have the resources in place. We have the finances in place. There is not going to be a lacking of resource or finance to address all those highway problems, as my colleague said, over the course of the late spring and summer. As soon as this wet weather clears off, they'll be out there. They'll be out there rapidly and repairing all of those issues that we know are built up over the winter. So I think, Leader, we can be pleased with this integrated report, and I think we can be pleased moving forward with confidence that we've got the resources in place to be able to deliver over the next year as well.
Right, we have two recommendations. We have one recommendation that we note and challenge performance and advise of any further information and/or action required. I think we've done that pretty comprehensively. All those in favour? Agreed. Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 7 is decision taken by Cabinet members under delegated powers. There's just the one taken by the Cabinet member for children and young people in approving the preferred option to procure return home interviews for children who go missing from the Children and Families Support Services framework and award to the most competitive tender. That is the only item on the decisions taken by Cabinet members. Moving forward to the forward plan. First of all, into May and in public, Wallis Quarry addressing the impact on our communities, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Wilcox. Procurement of Garden Waste Disposal Framework, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Commercial Matters and the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg. Councillor DeVille, it looks like you might have your thunder stolen when it comes to these frameworks, with Councillor Tagg encroaching on the excitement that is the procurement frameworks. But you are spared, because after that you've got the roofing framework agreement to bring in May as well, which is brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Commercial Matters and a slightly different title now, Councillor DeVille. Community Learning Accountability Agreement 24-25, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. And then moving forward in private, Stafford Town Centre update, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. In June in public, we've got the Supported Living Commissioning update, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Wilcox. And then the final financial outturn, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry, and myself. In July, in public, Digital Innovation Strategy for Staffordshire County Council, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry. Children and Young People's Emotional Health and Wellbeing Service, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton. And finally, Treasury Management Report for the year ended 31st of March 2024, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry. Councillor Parry, I think you're going to be quite busy over the next few Cabinet meetings. With that, that concludes the forward plan of key decisions. I then have to move to agenda item 9, which is the exclusion of the public. I move that the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972 indicated below.